Jordan Peterson has some of the best debate moments on the internet.
Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
But his surrounded video is not at that level. And I know plenty of people are going to discuss the content of what he debated, the semantic fog.
I just feel like you kind of retreat into this semantic fog.
I'm not retreating at all. I'm advancing, sir. You are retreating.
And how do you define that filled the conversation?
How do you define the God that you're rejecting?
How do you define worship?
To define God.
Define God.
Define it.
Define it.
We define
that
we
as...
define something. We define worship.
What I want to focus on is the most important part of a debate if you care about changing the mind of the person across from you. Not semantics or gotchas.
Ha, gotcha.
Or even sound logic, but the connection that you form through your rapport and charisma. Because even a...
And I would say that he definitely... I listened to some of the debate. I'll finish the rest later. But I'm really interested to see this sort of analysis for connection and charisma. And I do believe that he washes everything in the semantic fog. And, you know, I'm a massive Jordan Peterson fan. I have been for a long time. But I feel like recently he's been doing a lot of this blur the lines semantic fog stuff. And I feel like he's almost de-evolved into a bit of a parody of himself, which is a bit unfortunate. Hopefully he'll sort of figure it out, but I don't think advancing into the blurriness of a semantic fog is the right thing to go. I think clarity is the right way to go. But let's keep
sound
going.
argument will not move people if you get these pieces wrong. So here's the first key point.
Right.
You want to choose amusement over frustration when someone misrepresents or misunderstands you. To see this in action, let's rewind to Jordan's encounter with Kathy Newman.
Okay.
Notice his reaction to her twisting his words.
So you don't believe in equal pay?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
When she continues doing it, he even goes as far as to comment that he finds it all silly.
I
System
really
is
think
just
that's
fine.
silly. I do. I think that's silly.
He finds it funny when she can't represent him accurately. And this allows him to stay calm and centered enough to effectively point out her inconsistencies later on. But in the surrounded video, Jordan did not find misunderstandings amusing. Within just 5 minutes of starting, one person said the instead of and Jordan replied like this.
God rewards Moses with a glimpse of the divine. So this is a definition of the God that atheists are hypothetically rejecting.
A possible one.
I said
Yeah.
I didn't say the.
That frustration was also present in other conversations when he felt he wasn't accurately represented.
It's an absurdity to say that the Christian God doesn't fit within Christian ethics, that like the Christian
I
God
didn't
isn't
say
like
that.
Christian
I
ethical.
said that the specific statements that you made don't take the context of the stories into account, and so that your analytical approach is faulty.
Sure.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Sure, then let's go through
Thank
the
you.
example.
So ask yourself, whose perspective are you more likely to open up to?
Yeah.
The one who laughs and finds you amusing, or the one who scolds you? So instead of
You could definitely, yeah, you definitely see that for sure.
allowing yourself to get heated, remind yourself that you can choose amusement. If you drop the quest to be perfectly understood, you can actually play with the misunderstandings, and that will make you more persuasive. Check out how a little joke about a misunderstanding will set the stage for a good faith conversation.
And I would say that we find genocide in Scripture. I would argue, though...
So you agree with my claim?
Yeah, I think it's in Scripture. Yeah, I mean, I think it's in there.
Okay,
right?
well, thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, good stuff.
And of course, if the misunderstandings happen nonstop, you can draw a boundary. I covered this in the original Peterson video and a bunch of others, but for now, let's hop into the second point, which is that most people respond best to a receptive style of listening rather than an interrogative one. So let's pause here to describe these two types because each does have their place. A receptive style of listening is based around feeling someone's overall vibe. You're not getting hung up on a particular detail, you're trying to feel the big picture. And the body language that naturally flows from this will look like sitting neutrally in your seat or leaning back, smiling while you're listening or speaking through a smile when you're responding, opening your eyes wider and letting your peripheral vision come online, and you'll also see extended periods of listening without fact-checking every minor detail. Now, the interrogative style of listening is based around listening.
I feel like that was something that really stood out to me in Jordan Peterson's debate. It's like he really got hung up over like the little fact checking things, and like yeah, they kind of do matter, but I feel like between moving forward into obscurity and this semantic fog, which I don't think is helpful, and getting very hung up on does and like little things, and being like more interrogative and frustrated, definitely made it like not one of his best debate performances at all. And it's just kind of sad to see. I mean, everyone has a bad day at the office, but I feel like, I mean, maybe this, I can't say for sure if this is or is not an accurate representation of where he's at right now, but somehow I get the overall vibe that maybe he started to fall in, he started to get really interested in the Bible because his fan base started to become more and more Christian and pushed him in that direction. But then he didn't actually want to go where the Bible concluded. So he has to create, you know, this semantic ambiguity so that he can still get something out of the Bible without coming to the conclusion that the Bible ultimately leads you to. If that makes
for
sense.
Inconsistencies. Every detail of what someone says is run through a filter to catch the exact moment that they deviate from truth or logical consistency. And this tends to look like leaning forward in your seat, grimacing, or straining to pick up every word they say, narrowing your eyes so you can laser in on the speaker. And you'll tend to have shorter periods of listening as inconsistencies are immediately fact-checked.
We just don't agree on the justification that God is the only thing that provides morality.
It's not a justification, it's a definition.
Now, there's a time for this style. When you suspect someone is lying and you don't want to allow them to sweep things under the rug, laser in. Details matter. But in any argument that isn't about scoring internet points, the receptive style is more effective. And even in internet debates, the receptive style can be incredibly effective. Alex O'Connor modeled this beautifully in his Surrounded episode. He spent most of the time listening receptively when he wasn't speaking, but on the rare occasion that he drifted into that interrogative style, he immediately caught himself and apologized.
God actually, his purpose is to make us become as he is.
Yes, does that include animals as well?
Animals are part of the created order that will be redeemed along with the rest of the created order.
Okay, so what does suffering do for them?
Suffering is part of the inherent nature of the world as a fallen world, okay?
Even for animals?
Yes, even for animals.
Whose fault is that?
Let me break it down.
I'm throwing
this
a lot
way.
of questions.
You notice when he switches modes, the body language takes care of itself. He leans back,
That's
his gaze and
interesting.
face soften, and he stops interrupting. But if it's not already clear, Jordan spent a solid amount of time in that interrogative mode. He did have sections.
I guess for me, one of the things that I'm learning from this is if I'm going to have a debate with someone in like my personal life, I'm going to be more mindful of the leaning forward and leaning back phase, as I don't want to just be in that interrogation mode all the time, because I do find people tend to respond better to what I have to say when I'm being, you know, more chill, more laid back, and just overall kind of like having a better time like with the conversation, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is a really fun analysis for sure.
Of more receptive listening, but overall it was something that hurt him from a rapport building perspective, and I think it led to some of the more friendly conversations turning needlessly contentious. For instance, this guy Greg enters with a playful attitude and respectful demeanor.
Aha! Hi, nice to meet you.
How are you doing?
Good, how
What's
are you?
your name?
I'm Greg, nice to meet you.
But during the conversation, Jordan got hung up on interrogation style details.
Goes back to what I'm saying initially.
I'm
where,
not defining it. Elijah
Okay,
defined
so
it.
as Elijah defines
It's
God.
defined that way in Jonah, too.
Okay, so as
Cardinal Newman also
got
defined
it.
it that way.
As I'm sure you know, many people.
Okay, like that's like that part there is like really annoying. It's like, okay, he's trying to move past the definition that you've already said, and it's just like this person defined it that way. Like that's not very conducive to like a good debate. Like the frustration is bound to come out when you just try to needlessly hammer on all of those little details instead of getting the big picture first. Like I watched that 3 seconds of him and I'm like already I'm like frustrated.
People who defined it that way. and it's impressive. You're a very knowledgeable person.
I'm not trying to be impressive. I'm just pointing out to you how God is defined in the Old Testament.
All right.
And the interaction wound up turning by the end.
I made a specific point that God was associated with conscience.
I just feel like you kind of retreat into this semantic fog.
I'm not retreating at all. I'm advancing, sir. You are retreating.
All right. Well, it was very nice to meet you. I
Nice to
appreciate
meet
the
you too.
conversation.
Yeah.
So only do interrogative style when the details really matter, like in catching a liar. Otherwise, it'll feel like you're being overly aggressive or like you're trying to deflect from the incompleteness of your own argument. And that brings us to the next point, which I am calling the anti-NBA rule.
Which, honestly, deflecting from the incompleteness of your own argument, I would have to say that that is definitely what Jordan Peterson has to do, as he's only barely kind of a Christian, and he always seems to stop short of actually confessing and adhering to the fundamental tenets of Christianity, which is that Jesus is literally God and man, literally died on the cross, literally rose again out of the grave, and is literally the only way to heaven and is salvation for our sins. And you have to believe in him and entrust your life to him to be saved. He seems to fall short of actually confessing Christianity as it actually is. And so, of course, he has to create this semantic fog and then distract you with all of these, extra being picky about all of these little definitions so that you don't get to the root of the matter, which is that doesn't actually confess Christianity the way it actually is. He's created his own version, his own foggy interpretation of the Bible that's more psychological, at least from what I understand it, if that makes sense.
Instead of dunking on people when you've got them cornered, extend a helping hand. Now, dunking in this context is when you take a moment of confusion in the other person, whether it's substantial to their argument or it's just semantics, and you use it to declare victory.
You say that you respect the Second Amendment, and I brought this here for you so that you can read it. It's the Constitution.
Energetically, it's you reveling in the other person being wrong. Now, Jordan had a few light dunks in the Jubilee interview.
Can we stay on what we were talking about?
We are.
Okay.
You're just uncomfortable with the question.
Requires some level of morality or...
Into what? I'm not disagreeing.
Sure.
Why do they require that?
Because it's the only way that social groups can actually survive, right?
That's my point with regards to science. Thank you very much.
And he has his most famous light dunk at the end of the Kathy Newman interview.
I'm just trying to work that out. I mean...
Ha, gotcha.
You have got me. I'm trying to...
But generally, Jordan is good about not dunking, and that was mostly true in his Surrounded episode. Some of the other participants, though, did not do a great job of avoiding dunks.
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video.
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing. Right, you're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
Even though this behavior makes for viral shorts content, my advice is not to lean into dunking. It gets you a temporary high, but it comes at the cost of the relationship. What you want to do instead in these situations is extend a hand. And this is essential if you care at all about people growing from the debate. Because it's in these moments of kindness, where somebody's point has been defeated, that you let them integrate new information rather than defend their ego from someone who's attacking them. Jordan handled this exceedingly well in the Kathy Newman interview. Listen for how many extensions of kindness are included in his communication after.
And one of the reasons that is great, because if you're just debating to try to puff yourself up, eventually you'll get caught too. And then you'll want someone to extend that hand of kindness to you when you get trapped or you fall and you lose an argument or something like that. You would hope that someone would extend that hand of kindness to you as well. And a lot of times, if you have a reputation of, missing that and always dunking on people and putting them down, eventually, that's going to come around to bite you as well. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled. Whoever humbles himself will be exalted, right? And so, yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Stumped her.
Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm
you
very
get my
glad that I have
no, but you get
exercised
my
my freedom of
point.
speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on.
So
And
do
that is
you-
what you should do. But
and
you're
do you
exercising
think-
your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine.
And even the light dunk of the gotcha was quickly followed up with a playful joke that implied Kathy was a tough debater, and then he even laughs.
I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Ha, gotcha.
you have got me. You have got me. I'm trying to work
about
that through in my
time.
head. Yeah. It took a while.
It did, yeah.
Took a while.
Another great thing to do in moments where you have debunked someone's claim is to shift to inclusive language, meaning you talk about who you also once thought the same thing as them. This helps them feel like they're not wrong. You can also speak in we sentences. You can watch Alex O'Connor do it after he counters a theist's point in his Surrounded episode, and he puts himself on her side in the quest for truth.
Same thing for a woman giving birth, right? It's suffering, like it sucks, it hurts.
Sure. But imagine you could have the giving birth without the pain of giving birth.
Right.
Would you prefer that?
Of course, yeah, you would prefer that.
So then if God can bring about the good stuff without the bad stuff,
Right.
then there's no reason to bring about the bad stuff.
Right.
So what we have to show is why the bad stuff is necessary to bring about the good stuff. Otherwise, it's not justified.
Right. Well,
Everything that we've talked about in this video will become much easier with one simple realization. You have very little to lose in a debate or an argument. You're not bound to serve anyone who gets you semantically trapped or logically cornered. You don't become
that's
anything different if someone defines you as a Christian or an atheist or a good person or a bad person. Yes, you are exploring and attacking ideas, but you are safe. An opinion, even if it's presented as objective truth and everyone who disagrees with it is wrong, is just an opinion. You don't need to fight with these. So while there is nothing to lose, there are things that you can gain in an argument. There's the enjoyment of a fun spar. There's the opportunity to expand your understanding of the world. And most importantly, there's deeper connection with another person. And if that's something that you really want to master outside of just debates and arguments, you may be interested in our course.
And I'm not going to buy it. But that was really, really interesting and really, really fun because I do like having like debates and stuff. And maybe I'll do debates on YouTube one day when I'm big enough. But one of the things that I've always tried to have like more wholesome conversations and not just make it about me proving that I'm right and having the other person acknowledge you as you're right, because I feel like that would ultimately come from insecurity. And I feel like being able to have self-esteem and be confident in who you are outside of people acknowledging you to be right is a superpower that can help us move through life with not necessarily more ease, but be more confident to agree to disagree. And that way, if you do lose a debate, yourself and your identity is not so wounded that you have to start flailing your arms and, getting upset and being angry and talking back to the person and trying to tear them down and doing the ad hominem fallacy and turning it into like a mean, ruthless fight instead of like a good conversation. And I feel like there's a lot of just pointless, endless yelling and screaming and arguing on the internet that doesn't actually help us make the world a better place. Like, we need to build bridges, not tear people down. And so part of proving someone wrong is like extending a helping hand and showing that you're not actually trying to hurt them or, tear them down. You're just trying to help them see the truth so that you can both move forward together. And if you guys like this, if you like this style of video, let me know. Let me know other clips that I should react to, and I will see you guys next time. If you vibe, subscribe, and help me grow this channel into something really fun. If you don't like the video, definitely tell me because I will work hard to make it better. Let me know what you guys like, and I'll be sure to give it to you. Cheers. Peace.